Guys, and welcome back to GameSpot's coverage of EB Expo 2012. Randy, we had some exciting stuff happen yesterday.
We did.
And we're going to kick on to even better stuff today.
I think we have a pretty full schedule, but I think the first game we have today is pretty huge.
We do, it's huge. We're starting off with a bang, and we're joined by John Rafacz. He's the Director of Communications over at Treyarch. John, thank you for joining us on the couch.
Thanks, guys.
Now we're going to take a look at Call of Duty Black Ops 2 today. We're going to have a look at some multiplayer action, but let's set the scene a little bit. Tell us about the single player component of Call of Duty Black Ops 2 and what some of the players have come to expect.
Sure. So the fiction for Black Ops 2 is really big and very ambitious. About 2/3 of the game takes place in 2025. About a third in sort of the end of the first Cold War in the 80s. Plays David Mason, son of Alex Mason from the first game, and you meet up with guys like Old Man Woods, who through a series of flashbacks can kind of lay the foundation for how things came to be. When researching what warfare looks like in 2025, we found that it's a increasingly networked affair, drones, advanced robotics. So we kind of got thinking, what would happen if someone kind of like came along and hacked into that, took command of our weapons and used them against us. And that's exactly what happens in Black Ops 2. And there's a guy named Raul Menendez, our villain. And through those flashbacks, you kind of see how he came to be and understand how he manages to take control of the U.S. military infrastructure and what he does with it when he's got it.
So we know that Woods is coming back in some capacity. In terms of the chronology, is this a direct follow-on, or given the kind of back and forth nature of the Black Ops,
sure.
Will it follow a direct sequel storyline?
Well, let's say that yes, it does, but I mean, when you talk about sort of the Black Ops style of storytelling with flashbacks, let's just say that it's not your traditional picking up right where you understand where you're coming from. It's a sequel.
Now, before we jump into the demo here, give us you talked previously about the three game elements of this. So there's the single player, the multi, and zombies. Give us your view of what's in each package and the amount of work that goes into creating almost three separate games.
Sure. Actually, that's one thing that the team has really worked very hard on, is that this idea of presenting really kind of three games in one, but really offering not only something for everyone, but things that people haven't seen in a Call of Duty game before. For single player, you've got sort of that straight ahead epic cinematic experience. Multiplayer, online, a massive online experience, and with zombies, what was once an unlock in World at War is now its own lifestyle. And even within each mode, you've got things like in single player Strike Force levels. That drop a sandbox style element of gameplay to an otherwise linear experience, and so there are different ways of telling that story, but what it ultimately means to the player is that depending on how these Strike Force levels turn out, it's possible that the ending of your Call of Duty game is a little different than mine, and you've never seen that before. In single player, we're also introducing the idea of the opportunity to sort of create a class prior to each level, and then in multiplayer, I don't know, I think I only have half an hour. You've got things like league play that really fundamentally build on the idea the competition should be fun for anyone at any level, and really uses an intricate matchmaking process to pair people up of similar skill levels. You've got an eSports initiative. Codcasting and live streaming puts tools in players' hands that allows them to wrap their Call of Duty gameplay experience in production value, treat it like the sport that it is, and share it with the world. And then zombies, there's multiple dimensions to zombies. You've got Transit, which is a story mode. You got new characters, new zombies, new weapons, and then classic survival. You've got a new grief mode, which is a last man standing kind of thing, which is 4z4. It's a lot of fun. I mean, and even within multiplayer, there are tools that we give players to take their game from, whether they're easing into the waters of multiplayer or seasoned veterans. There's literally something for everyone along the way.
Well, let's kick into the demo and actually talk through as we go. So
yeah.
This is Hardpoint, one of your new multiplayer modes you're going to be including with Black Ops 2. Give us a spiel.
So there are in multiplayer, there are a couple modes that are going to ship with the ability to play as multi-team. Hardpoint being one of them. And Hardpoint is a classic inspired by classic King of the Hill style gameplay. There is a capture point that changes throughout the course of the map, and as we play through this, you'll see that it shifts around, and it's your job that your new team need to take control of it, hold it longer than the other team, and the rest is just pure Call of Duty insanity.
Actually, the thing I noticed is the fact that it's no longer a two-team setup. It's no longer just about team versus team or objective versus objective. The squads of 3 that you're introducing this year as well.
Well, that's right. I mean, here in this game, you see 2 teams versus one versus 1v1, sort of 2-team split. But with multi-team, there's also the opportunity to break it up in groups of 3 and really kind of return to small squad-based tactics. And you'll see multi-team in TDM, Hardpoint, Kill Confirm, and it really adds sort of a new dimension to how you play the game.
Right. So tell us a little bit about the demo we're seeing here.
Sure. So before you even jump into the game, the one thing that you'll see is the new Create a Class, and this is based on sort of a new pick 10 system. Where once you had a slot-driven system where you had to pick a primary, had to pick a secondary. Now it's all allocation. Everything within multiplayer is worth a point, and you've got 10 points to spend, all right? And you combine that with these things called wild cards, which are the rule breakers. So when you mix all those things together, incidentally, wild cards are worth a point as well. So it's like, if you want to give up your secondary weapon and your lethal, you can actually get a wild card that lets you get a 3rd attachment for your primary. If you want to organize things so that you have loads of just perks and you jump into a game with just a knife, you can do that too. And what's great is that not only will you see more custom loadouts that you've never seen in a Call of Duty game before, but you'll be able to customize a loadout to your play style better than you've ever been able to, which is a lot of fun. And it, I think it kind of shows in the when you're playing. At least it has for me, because I get to play to my strengths, what few I have.
Well, I know sharing is a big part of the ethos with Black Ops 2, sharing. The fact that you're doing like a podcasting and there is an eSports element to it. Will players be able to share their custom loadouts with other players?
Absolutely. When it comes to capturing game and sharing that content with others, what's great about when you talk about some of those features is that the first Black Ops game, when we introduced theater, it became very easy to kind of capture your games and share them. And now we're making that even easier with a feature that we call highlight reels. So at the end of this game, if you've got it in your saves as a save session, just hit a button and it literally pulls out all the highlights, makes the video for yourself. But there are a number of new social features that the team is rolling out that makes it easier to find them. So, call it like a series of community rating tools that allow fans to sort of organize and rate content, and it's all easier to find. So, it's easier to create, easier to sort through, easier to enjoy.
Hey John, obviously you've talked about a lot of the changes you've got coming up in multiplayer.
I'm sorry, man. J-Lo is she's in here. She's in my head.
So you talked quite a lot about the changes in multiplayer that are coming up here. And the first Black Ops is one of the most widely played competitive titles. Was there ever a temptation to not screw around with that winning formula? Why did you decide to try and sort of change multiplayer so much for Black Ops 2?
Well, I think the answer to that question lies in the team changed it in ways that made the most sense for how people are playing. So I think you got to be careful how you use the word change. They've certainly evolved it, but I think that when you take a step back and look at how the package is being presented, literally, if you are brand new to multiplayer, there are a series of features in combat training that allow you to ease into the waters. But when you get to a professional end of the spectrum, there are things like league play that group you up with other very competitive guys like yourselves, and then you combine that with podcasting, live streaming, even custom games where you have the opportunity to define the parameters of a game so that whether it's you and your buddies on a Saturday night or at a tournament, you are able to craft that experience the way you need to. So, I mean, it's not about changing it and leaving people to the wayside. It's about evolving it so that essentially the tent can be bigger.
So how much do you listen to, I guess, like user feedback when deciding, in how to move the franchise forward?
Well, I can tell you that the guys at Treyarch are proud to say that we are brave enough to stick our ears against the glass of the internet and listen to what people have to say. And we've developed a thick enough skin to do it. We listen a great deal, and we try to constantly perfect the art of listening, because other than just sort of like the "I hate you" kinds of tweets, which I've never seen any of those. It's like if you learn to listen, people will tell you what they're really looking for. And
I was going to say, how do you filter that? Like, how do you know when someone is actually being constructive versus someone's just being a jerk to you?
Well, I mean, come on, man. It's pretty easy to sort out. But, it's like there's sort of this group where it's like, you know what, I didn't like this, or I really did like this, or I would think about it this way. And, like, you kind of look in there and it begins, whether trends emerge that help you think about things in new ways. The community really kind of, if you listen, they will tell you. And they tell us.
Now, just a reminder that we are taking live questions from the Twitch chat. There is a question here from Mr. Zeros, who wants to know, why did you choose Black Ops 2 to be in the future?
Great question. The team really kind of gravitated toward near future very, very soon after the first Black Ops shipped, and the reason why, pretty much twofold. Treyarch had been a team making World War II games for a while, and when they moved into the Cold War, it was a chance to sort of get some exposure to new technology, new weapons, and ultimately new gameplay. All right, and then also it's like, the team had really kind of they had a lot of fun with sort of the Black Ops style of storytelling. There's the history that you know, and then the deniable operations that you didn't, that we expose you to. And now it's like we've taken that and applied it in a time-spanning, generation-spanning way, So now it's like you get near future, Cold War I technology, weapons, and gameplay, and a story that is more ambitious than any story we've attempted. And it's just like, ultimately, it allows us to tell a more dynamic fiction with more dynamic characters, ultimately a net benefit of more gameplay and a chance to innovate with things like Strike Force levels. So, yeah, it's that's why we went future.
I was just going to ask whether it's liberating working with a future timeline and the liberties you can take with the technology and where it's heading. I know you've worked closely with some of the armor companies in terms of some of the future tech and what might be coming. Yeah. Do you then ever say, well, we think this is where it's going, or this is something that's in prototype stage, but we'd like it if it had this, so we can just bolt that on the top?
Well, I hate to tell you this, but you're talking to the guy that I could talk about this for hours, and I'm sure Josh would tell you. So that was actually, it was very liberating, but very kind of scary at the same time, in the sense that, like, you don't want to be laser beams and aliens. You've got to retain, that Call of Duty feel. So, the team takes great pride in becoming subject matter experts in whatever we do, and we approach near future technology the same way. And everything that you see in the game is in use, being prototyped, advanced prototype stages. Every now and then there's some creative liberties taken with things, but all based on this plausibility that, if you apply Moore's law and add a little bit of entertainment value, it's not completely unreasonable to think that in 2025, you can't have a millimeter wave scanner that sends a pulse out into the world and shows you guys behind smoke screens or light cover.
Is it a scary future, John?
No, man. It's all coming up roses.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about like the big push that you into eSports that you're including with the game. Why did you decide to, I guess, embrace the eSports community, and how important is it, do you think, to the longevity of the game?
The eSports crowd, I mean, this is a group that understands kind of how to push on the boundaries of things, and I think that, just generally speaking, when you even just taking a step back from esports, when you put the tools in people's hands to more effectively play the way they want, I think that everyone benefits, you know? And I think that, you know, the esports community really kind of pushes on those boundaries. But then, you know, if you sort of look at the full spectrum, even when you give new players the opportunity to come in and maybe stay longer, feel more comfortable, ultimately you have guys that want to become that esports, get involved in that esports scene. So, I mean, it's really about making sure that we're giving absolutely everyone the tools that they need to succeed.
Now, like, as the biggest game in the world, like, do you feel that, you know, you guys can help grow the entire, I guess, esports field by making it so easy to be able to stream from in-game?
I don't know. I mean, that at some level that becomes one of those predictions that, yeah, I hope so. You know, I think that the team does too. I think it's really much more about making sure that we're you know, providing a game that's as inclusive as we possibly can. I think that, you know, the team has done it here.
Okay. Right, another question from the chat. Gamertag WS wants to know, will there be a zombie mode like Infected in Modern Warfare 3, where you get to turn into a zombie yourself if you get infected?
You will not be turning into a zombie, but believe me when I tell you that the Zombies team, who are an amazing group of guys, are giving you plenty of other things to do in Zombies, for sure.
Now, design director David Vanderhaar recently talked about the fact that you guys put so much of your resource and time and energy into creating the multiplayer experience. That's a real shame when people don't take advantage of it. And as you said, it's a game of 3 parts, really. So to have someone not play a third of your game potentially is I guess a little disheartening when you spend a couple of years, you know, toiling on it. You mentioned the accessibility and getting people into multiplayer. Tell us a little bit more about the tools that you're putting in place to get people into the multiplayer and stay there.
Sure. Well, I mean, if you talk about some of the ideas at play in the game, you know, if you're playing single player and you jump into a Strike Force level that is a sandbox style of gameplay, you are playing that within a single player context in the sense that the outcome of this mission will have an impact on the outcome of your game. But it's also a sandbox style of gameplay, which might feel a little multiplayer to some, but it's not. It's treated purely as a single player experience. But if you get comfortable there, maybe there's something like combat training for you, and there are a couple dimensions to combat training with Black Ops 2 that I think that people would appreciate. Is that first you've got boot camp. Boot camp is TDM, a mix of humans and bots, but you are earning full XP through level 10. All right. Once you cross the level 10 threshold, then it's you're in objective modes, but you're earning half XP in an environment where there's a human bot mix, and then there's bot stomp, which is just, you know, humans beating on bots, which I happen to have a soft spot for in my heart. But it's like there's this sort of entry point where you can ease into multiplayer, feel safe, and, you know, if that's all the more that you want, you can stop there, or you use it to train up and, you know, jump online. Then once you jump online, you've got league play, all right, and it's a matchmaking system that will group you up with people of similar skill levels, and you know, that sort of, and it's all sort of built on this idea that, like, we all love to win, all right. We're willing to take a loss if it means that we had an awesome game and I'll get you next time. But no one likes to get beat up badly, like me, or be the guy that just constantly beats people up. I mean, because no one's having any fun on either side. There's not a challenge. And this really kind of looks to group those guys together. But you know what? Even before you jump online, if you want to take a step back and look at theater functions, like, it is a more dynamic environment that you are able to use theater and games and podcasted matches to really sort of up your strategy game. You know, look at what other guys are doing. Look at what loadouts they're using. What kind of strategies they use on maps. You know, there's different ways to study and approach this game. I mean, suddenly it's like, whether it's football or football, you know, you can approach it like the professional sport that it is. Study up, get ready, practice your free throws before you're in the game, and you know, hit them all from the line once you're in it.
I was going to ask you to go back a little bit to the zombie modes. Well, why is zombies such a big part of the franchise now? Were you surprised with how sort of players reacted, you know, with Black Ops in the zombie mode there, and then you really had to include it in this one as well?
I guess at some level, you know, there's a bit of surprise. Like, people really kind of took to it, and you know, when you talk about community and community telling you what you want, there are fewer passionate fans than the zombies fans. Like, these guys, and that's what's great about the fiction, is that, like, there's a lot about the zombies experience that you think you know, and that is debatable, you know, and the community plays such a big part in that, and it's almost like this sort of like co-created fiction in a way, where we give you enough to talk about, they spin on it, and everyone kind of gets to own a piece of it, and that's even zombies, it's its own special bite-sized chunk of a Call of Duty type of experience, and it's just a lot of fun. And with custom games and zombies, now it's like, if you want, you can actually jump into level 5, 10, 15, or 20. So it's like, you got 10 minutes before you want to go out, you want a little zombies action, you can start where you want. And
so it's like a palate cleanser almost to the main game, would you say?
It can be what you want, because I mean, in Transit story mode, trust me, man, that is a novel. That is not a palate cleanser. No, Transit is huge. It's the largest, most ambitious map the team has ever built. In fact, it's so big that there's actually a bus that you can get on and ride between different areas. You don't have to use the bus, but it's like, there's so much strategy to employ in Transit. It's something else.
Yeah. Now, there have been a couple of questions on zombies. Whether there will be any new modes in a campaign, which we talked a little bit about, and will users ever be able to use previous matches of Call of Duty games?
I'm sorry, the first question?
Zombies, is there a new campaign mode? And will players ever be able to use any of their existing Call of Duty multiplayer maps?
Well, let's take it in reverse order. You know, if you pre-order the game, you know, you get access to Nuketown 2025, and it's, you know, if you had fun playing Nuketown, trust me when I tell you, you're going to dig 2025. And then, oh man, I'm like, the first question again.
The zombie campaign mode.
Zombie campaign mode.
Mention the bus.
All right, so a lot of people have been, and there have been a few people who have talked about this as campaign mode. It's a story mode, okay? And this is what Transit is all about. You've got a couple new characters, new zombies, new weapons. You've got the bus. There's also the idea of buildables that comes into play. The idea that there are things within the world that you can assemble to either open up new areas or help you out. But as far as the story, the fiction is concerned, let's just say that for fans that have been with us, who last joined us for the Moon experience, the actions, the experiences that you had last time sort of help set the stage for the apocalyptic setting you find yourself in now.
Perfect, John. I think we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us on the couch today. Give the folks at home a quick reminder, when is Call of Duty Black Ops 2 going to be out, and which platforms?
Absolutely. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 is going to be out November 13th. Xbox 360, PS3, PC, and this fall on Wii U.